He's really famous.
Yeah.
At the international level. I mean, you say Adebayo, you say our president, Paul Yasin.
Yeah, Adebayo, really. Yeah. So let's welcome our audience. And Europe and Africa share a very complex history. I think everyone can just amaze how
really
much we have in common
surprised
between Europe and Africa. We use European languages in conversation.
I didn't know much
We
about
adapted European way of life, even our
I
and
mean,
at the moment, you know, when I met you, and for the time that I've lived in France, 8 years now, I've met some incredible people from Africa. And one of these people I'm talking to you about is
I was
Donald
really
from
surprised
Togo.
that
Donald, when we met English for the first time,
Togolese, and then
you are going to get married.
English.
And I don't know, do you think there is a lot of
yes.
Togolese in France?
I mean, 2 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, a lot.
2 years ago.
A lot.
Okay.
But mostly they are
And
in
it's funny
Paris,
because
Paris,
I remember
and,
the scene so well.
I think Lyon.
You were in
also,
the supermarket with your fiance then, your wife now.
But
And
in
I had
there
a
was
t-shirt
a group
written
there, but
Kenya.
I think most of them left.
And you just came.
Some years ago.
Yes.
So I met only one person there.
I remember it now. Yes.
Who is
You
like
know.
yes.
You see, sometimes we really need courage.
Yes.
I'm really proud African.
So,
I'm a proud African. And
I mean, it's not
there's always
surprising,
something
you know. I
that
mean,
says a story about me.
the first time
And
actually,
that day I had a T-shirt
was in
proudly
Italy
written
when I
Kenya,
was studying,
and by good chance,
I met with
I met you and your family.
Togolese, with the Sudanese. We were
How
there,
is your
so we
family?
met, we are friends.
This
This man, I think, is from Kenya. And then I said, no, he asked me like,
And then he
from
said,
Togo.
no. I said, okay,
He said,
then
Togo. I mean, I asked him, because
you
I
know
was
where
really
Togo
sure.
is?
I mean, I said,
Where
Togo? So,
Yeah.
no. And so where is Togo? Is it in South America? I said, it's very nice. Actually,
Yeah.
2 years we are still talking about
Sudanese
that.
friend doesn't know where is Togo.
Yeah, sure.
It
And,
was really fun.
you know, events led to other events, and
And
I got married during your wedding.
everywhere I go, everywhere, literally,
very
in terms
nice
of
wedding.
conferences or whatever.
But I think on behalf of Kenyans, I will have
the first question when you say
to welcome you officially,
no,
like in
it's
front
not
of
Tonga.
everybody
So
today.
where is
Thank
it
you.
in
The Kenyan family.
No,
And
it's
we will
West
talk about the
Africa,
cows later.
right?
So
Next
that
to
one is
Ghana.
more.
If you know Ghana, you know Togo. We are just neighbors.
Yeah.
So I
They
mean,
told you
this
about that
should not
culture,
surprise
isn't
me.
it? You know about it.
We are a
The
peaceful
cows.
country, so we don't like
Yeah.
a lot of noise. So,
And also, I mean,
Yeah.
some traditions that are actually
having to like
Not,
slaughter things in
Okay.
the, you know.
Okay, let me welcome our audience.
I feel a bit,
only-
I feel a
the
bit
only
scared.
time
People,
but at the same time,
understand about Togo is
a
when
bit
you see
eager also
Adebayo,
actually
and then to experience it.
football
You know,
player
it's
Adebayo,
like,
Sure.
Okay,
Adebayor.
then
Sure,
we know.
don't worry. I think Kenya actually
Adebayor
is more famous than of humanity. And I think when you come to Kenya, you'll feel at home. Don't worry.
Thank
We
you.
will,
Actually,
is that
I
one thing?
have
You
already
took our
been there,
daughter.
So I have been there, and I think that's what you said is
Okay.
really summarizing. I mean, what I felt. You really feel like you are at home. You know, at least for me, I felt like I am at home. Yeah.
So
I
you
was
were in
there
Kenya?
in 2029, right before COVID. No, I mean a year before.
2019, you mean? 2019. 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2018, 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you went twice or once?
No, one time. 2018, December,
Okay.
2018, January 2020, 2019. I was there.
Okay. Then what was your experience? Are those guys nice with you?
Yes, what I'm saying, what you said summarizes pretty much, I mean, what I felt. I mean, people are very kind, welcoming, you know, nice, kind, and maybe actually maybe too kind also. I mean, I felt like, no, people are kind of sometimes you feel like it's maybe too much. I mean, you know.
Really, Donald.
Sure.
You're like, I think you're giving us like 5-star. I don't know if we deserve it. And maybe you met good people too. Yeah.
I mean, all the Kenyans that I met are like 5-star people. So, I mean, so I can guess it means Kenya on average or on overall is the same. So, I mean.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you have that opinion of our country. And for me, my experience is just to say with Togolese, I think you are the second person I met, but the lady I met before, we didn't really have much in common, really kind person, but we didn't really spend a lot of time together. And you kind of represent your country very well. Because you yourself, you are a doctor in particle physics.
Yes.
I think that's a field that have very few people. And maybe you can tell us about that. What's your work? What does it entail?
Yeah, so I mean, what's basic? I mean, you know, human being. Just to maybe to put in the context to make it much more clear. So, a human being, we are made of what? We are made of what we call molecules. Molecules are made of what? Atoms. And then when you go at subatomic level, that is what is inside the atom. You have very tiny, tiny particles, tiny that are forming these atoms. So you have electrons. Think of electrons,
and
protons.
protons, I think.
Yeah, neutrons. You go inside the proton, you have also other constituents, like a quarks
Really?
that are forming to, yes, that are forming to make a proton. So that's where we are, what we are studying precisely. The inside, what is really the fundamental elements that we are made of. So
really, you explained to me to me like a baby, but like first of all, I've never imagined, of course I'm not a scientist, but there is something even smaller inside an atom, smaller than the atom, and we are not talking about the protons and neutrons. Inside the protons and neutrons, there is also another. I don't know how small can you go? How small can you go? Like we have in the beginning, we say there is a rock, and then we realize that no, rock is made up of elements, maybe interacting together, and then you say no, these elements are, most of them are compounds. Like
exactly. I mean, the point is what? Yeah, I mean, you know, everything depends on at which scale or at which level you are. You know, I mean, when you are learning something, you know, in primary school they tell you just a basic. You go in high school, they tell you, oh, no, actually you can solve like a number equals to negative number. Number square of number can be negative. Then you wonder why. You go further, I tell you, actually you can put, you know, this complex number imaginary, you know. So everything depends on where you are. So, I mean, if you want just daily life stuff, atom up to the level of atom size is enough. I mean, to do whatever we see here. But when you want to understand what governs, what's really, really behind all this, then you have to break it and to see what is inside. And when you break it, that's where you see these tiny objects or particles that we are made of, essentially. So when yes.
What are you doing now? Are you a teacher? Are you a researcher?
Mostly
with that knowledge, with that specialization, that's very
mostly I do research, but I do also intervene as a teacher. But I think 90% of my time is just research. So research means what? Means that we try to find the ways. Okay, you know, so far these tiny objects that I told you, we know them very well, and we can understand and describe them very well so far. So we have what we call mathematical model, or a theory, you can put it, or a framework, you can think of whatever, or a box, which actually describe very well whatever happens. I mean, like if you take one tiny object, you put them together, you can predict or know what will happen, because you know the forces that are, I mean, how they will interact. It's like when you take a ball and you throw on the air, you know gravity, the gravity will take it down on Earth because it will pull it back. You know? So this is the same.
That's kind of basic, isn't it?
Exactly. So on top of gravity, you have three other forces that are actually governing these small tiny objects. What we call like interactions, which are strong. Those are inside, for instance, the object that are forming the proton. Some which are weak, which may somehow connect the electron with other particles that mediate the forces that we see. Because when we say force, actually, like gravity, is just interaction which is mediated by a particle. There's nothing more. So when you say commonly, I throw something, it's pulling it down. No, it's just because there's an exchange of some particle, which actually connect, or rather.
No, you're losing me. Like I wanted you to explain to me, like a child. Now I throw something up. Newton actually is looking outside the window of his home. So an apple falling down. He was the first one to ask himself, why didn't it just go up? Why is it falling down?
That's what I'm saying. So when you take two objects, you know that from Newton that all of them will be exerting forces toward each other, irrespective of how far they are. But depending on the one that is more massive, I mean like this, that's much more mass, the forces it exerts on the other is much stronger. So if you take human, which is tiny compared to the Earth, you throw it, the Earth will just pull it much stronger than how human will pull the Earth toward him. So that's why the human will come necessarily on Earth. You see?
Necessarily.
Exactly. So if you want you take an object like whatever aircraft that goes to other planets, it means that you are feeling some force that is much stronger than what the Earth is, it's pulling you back.
Yeah,
So
you're breaking the gravity. That's what they say.
Exactly.
You break and now let's say because there are some things which really I think I'm not ready to understand them. Maybe my brain is still too small. What is really gravity? Like in your terms, because you are talking about particles, but for us in school we learned that gravity is simply an acceleration or a force that acts on something, and its origin is the center of the Earth. And I don't know, it's very easy to imagine what really.
Okay, gravity. Because you are thinking something local, like gravity is not intrinsically related to Earth. It's just in the universe. Whenever you have two objects, they exert toward edges. Which are moving or whatever, they exert some forces toward each other. So, depending the one that is more massive, like the one that has more mass, the gravity, that is the force that it exerts to attract the other object toward itself, is much stronger. So that is the gravity. So, when you take Moon on Earth rotating, you still have gravitational forces between them. So that's why you will see that the orbit will remain the same, because maybe the force it reaches equilibrium in a way that it doesn't come to where it doesn't go to where, it just remain on some specific orbit that you can define.
Yeah,
exactly. So
my amateur,
if you just take two objects, it will happen. It's not just like related to the center of Earth or whatever. It's just that on Earth where we are, yes, then the gravity of the Earth is much stronger, and it's the one that we feel. If you go to Moon, if you go on the Moon, for instance, the gravity
is smaller.
Smaller, yeah. That's why you will see.
Gravity is simply directly proportional to the mass.
To the mass.
Of an object.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
This is a Newton law, yes.
So now, okay. Tell us, is the Earth flat or spherical?
No, there have been a lot of people claiming that the Earth is flat.
No, now that you are here, settle this down for us.
Yeah,
settle this down for us, because it's a very big issue.
Not to disrespect those who believe that. I just think it's just belief. It's not based on any science. Yes. But if you really want to think of science and whatever was the resistance that we have, the Earth is spherical. Just as it is. It's not flat.
So what does that leave the Bible?
The point is, the point, there was an experiment actually to check this. If you take the sun when it is really on top, and you look at the projections of objects, you will see that it is a bit deflected. If it is flat, you will find like it will just be exactly, on you. But this is not what is seen. You look at it, it's always like something deflected, which means that the Earth by itself is not something that can be flat. There's no way.
It's spherical.
Yeah.
So you don't want to say anything. Where does that lead now? Because I think the fact that no one is really 100% sure of anything, like existence of God. What is really?
Yeah,
what is really gravity? And the fact that science is coming in and kind of splits things into two.
Yes.
Like very clearly, we evolved from monkeys. We were not created by supernatural.
Yes.
And the Bible, I'll talk of the Bible because that's what I read. I'm a traditional Catholic. So, and there are many other explanations. I know in African concept of faith, it varies, but let's talk about modern faith. Where does that?
Yeah. Science and religion is, in some limit, they do not really talk to each other. I personally have some philosophical opinion on this matter, because, if you ask me, yes. Because if you ask me, if I believe, then I am in the mindset of believing. It's not based on any factual evidence. So it's just a belief, which is the religion. You just believe, you don't need to see any evidence. That's the religion. But with science, when you believe, you need to have a proof of it, you see. You need to have some evidence to support what you think it is. Otherwise, it's no more science, it's religion. So I think that's the breaking point between the two. Yeah. So, regarding pertaining to where we come from, how it should be, okay, if, religion says something, and which is science is really, you cannot believe it, like we just come out of nowhere. We need to come out. You need to come up something, some theory, if you prefer, to explain how we evolved, because this makes much more sense from scientific point of view. From religion, I mean, I just don't believe as a scientist that we are just created out of nowhere. It's really difficult to believe as a scientist. But if you ask me, with my faith, it's like, do I believe as it? Then this is another issue. You see?
I remember are you a religious person? Let's put it simple for you.
I am religious.
Are you a religious person?
I remember having this discussion. We spent actually one full evening and with colleagues actually discussing about this specific topic on pertaining. I mean, can we really say that the science and religions are contradicting or do not talk to each other when it comes to, explaining some things like our origin, for instance?
Yeah.
For me, I mean, if you believe, you don't want to bother or whatever happened, okay, you are religious and you believe, and that is it. I mean, it's just simple. But if you want science, you want to come up with a way to explain that belief. So if you ask me, as a believer, I will stop on whatever is written in holy books, on holy text, or whatever you might put it. Now, when I put my blouse of scientist, then I have to explain what I'm saying necessarily. But then I do not agree anymore. I do not agree anymore without any proof of whatever you say.
And you now, how do you want to be seen by people in your private life, as a religious person or as a scientist?
I mean, it really reminds me
I'm
of.
not trying to catch you.
It really reminds me of the discussion we had, because this is a question. I mean, I will not answer with the definite. I will not give a definite answer to this because it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky because if I give a definite answer, since the two are not talking, I am limiting to something which, from the exercise of my mind, I would not feel comfortable. Just because I am scientist, I need a proof of it, or I need to find a mechanism that actually satisfies my belief of what I am saying. You see, so yes, I am a religious. I believe in holy books, but when I put my costume of scientist, then I have to question them, just critical question, like, does it really make sense?
Yes,
it is written this. Okay, does it really make sense? Is it really possible?
Yeah. Do you think being a scientist kind of helps you to understand the world a little bit better than just being a believer?
Yes. Actually, it makes you actually think a lot on many aspects of things. I used to give some example. I remember I had an interview with some media some years back. They asked me, I mean, when I was kid, I really wished to become a football player. Actually, just as parenthesis, I am a very good player though. So I really thought I would become a professional player. Why? And then, when you play, from physics that, if you kick a ball, the initial conditions, you can predict the trajectory of the ball and know where you put it. I mean, so this is something fascinating. When I arrived at the university and I started doing science, in my second year, our teacher of quantum mechanics arrived and he said, well, if you want to predict something, it's uncertain. Like, it's like whatever we see is just effect of what we are measuring. It looks weird.
Wait. Repeat that.
To be more precise, let me finish. To be more precise, it means you cannot determine something in advance. Everything is just probability.
So you are saying a measurement is what? Measurement is not like the real thing. It's just the results or the chaos of what you observe.
You have infinite thing. It's when you go, you measure, you see. That's the thing. Measure can be what you see. It means like it's because you looked at it that you have seen it. If you don't look, if you look somewhere else on a different condition, you could see something else.
You will say it doesn't exist because you've not seen it.
Yes.
So that, the problem or what I like also about the science, I think it puts my brain every time I talk to scientists, especially people dealing with theoretical physics. And I think you are one of the most controversial human beings on earth, because there is a logic in what you speak of, but at some point there is a complete departure from the reality of what we, the normal people, believe in. For me, now, like I want to shoot something. I want to
Yes.
shoot something, and I know the conditions are all okay. You can measure the distance. As maybe as the arrow or a bullet is going, it's going to be pulled down by gravity, and you can calculate until that point that it will hit the target.
Yes.
And
This is So this is what we know. This is what's called like classical or Newtonian physics, meaning that whenever you have initial conditions, you can perfectly define or know the movement of everything, because you know the initial conditions, velocity, mass. I mean, you know really the initial conditions of something. You can predict how it will evolve later in time. But in quantum mechanics, this is not enough, because nothing is certain until you measure it. So you might have initial conditions. You think that you will get this. So you go, you measure, you find something else.
And what is this word quantum?
Quantum, okay, how can I put this in? Quantum is opposite of, or rather the counterpart of classical. Classical means what we are used to see, which obeys, Newtonian physics that we know, like, you walk, if you throw something, how it moves. If you hit a rock, you will fall necessarily. Nobody will come to predict if you will fall or not. I mean, whatever. So those are things that are certain, that for a given condition, you know what will happen. So you have a certitude in a sense. So the word quantum means uncertain. So meaning
and you are not confined.
Yes.
And you are not confined to yes or no. Like,
yes or no, exactly.
I'm a software engineer, and I think the most exciting part of our future is the availability of quantum computers, which we are waiting a lot. But me, myself, even being a software engineer, some of the things how quantum computers really work, they still blow my mind, because in classic computers, we use binary system. Actually, people don't understand that computer understands only 0 and 1, only two digits.
The first time I had
and from that,
also, back in time, I was a bit concerned about this issue, like how. But so
now you have only like classical computer. It doesn't matter how powerful your processor is. It doesn't understand Python. It doesn't understand audio. It doesn't understand anything. It understands only the binary system, 0 or 1. 1 means it's there, and 0 means it's not there. And from these two buttons, it can write anything. It can draw anything. It can do anything that exists.
Exactly.
Actually, it's quite amazing. I use generative AI to do a lot of stuff, and it's really amazing. And I think when we come to quantum computers, and we are told that now in place of 0, because we have 1 and then 0, and in place of 0, you have inside it, you have also a 0 or a 1, and then in place of the first one, you also have a 0 and 1. It means that it doesn't confine you.
It doesn't confine you. I mean, you are not certain
of your operation.
Yes, whatever you thought is certain is actually not really certain. That's the point.
That's quite an interesting part of it. But because I think in my level of understanding of this world really depends on the hardware that I've been developed. Of course, I've never spent a lot of time thinking of hardware interactions between hardwares. Really, I want just to make a system that will run this hardware or just exploit this hardware to do something. And this brings me to the next question. You are from Africa. Do you think what you are doing, since it's kind of what you are doing, could be groundbreaking for the science in future? So could you do that in Africa? Could you do this in Togo, for instance?
Well, this is a very good question. Right now, the facilities that we have, of course, we need science as a general. As in general, yes, I think we need any kind of aspect in our motherland, because we need it. Now, concerning what I am doing right now, and its direct application, the application of science is worldwide. I mean, it's not really something that is a local. Of course, maybe in future we can think of things that are that had local applications, in the sense of maybe depending on the needs of some population, of a group of population, or a group of some geographic region, we can develop some ways, that can be applied to them, or rather be useful to them in a sense. But right now, what I do, the applications could be worldwide, whether in medicine, like providing ways, to treat, sickness that we have, like cancers, whatever, or doing like a scanning or with X-rays, all these things. So we have a lot of applications that can actually be important, for us. But this cannot be just something like specifically to Africa, at least in what I do. So the applications can be useful to anybody on Earth. So yeah, in a
Yeah,
sense,
yeah, that's the beauty of science. But the reason why I'm asking this is it seems to me that the best brains in Africa are not in Africa. You have to go outside to establish yourself, and you can't. It would be fantastic if I could have this conversation. I'm in Kenya and you are in Togo, and we are talking on, because in the history of humanity, this is the question actually that for us here in Mamboleo we've been struggling with. Did Africa not contribute to the progress of humanity scientifically, let's say? Let's remain on that path.
Yes.
Religion-wise, I know we kind of almost in agreement there, but scientifically, and most of the things that come out now, new technologies, these researches, these things, although it's going to benefit everyone, I think there is also a need that these technologies or these theories or outcomes, scientific outcomes, could be published in African countries.
Yes, definitely. You are definitely right. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we need the main problem actually is having the subventions in terms of fundings for doing this kind of research in Africa. So that's the main challenge. So what if we have the means to do this kind of research? Of course, I mean, everything depends on the need. When there is a need, you can always orient your research to a particular issue and address it. So if the moment we are not yet there, it's very difficult to say like, we are using the facilities of here to address issues that are in Africa. So that's where the question comes like, should we not have more funding to do this kind of research? Because we can have this application, whether from nuclear point of view, like to have some nuclear plants or whatever. I mean, it can be still useful because we can also apply this kind of technology there at the end of the day. So yes, I mean, I think, which could help in terms of electricity or other stuff also, which we are actually struggling a lot on the continent. So I think it's a matter of really having the funding needed, enough funding to really say like, let us address this issue using the technology or the tools that we have, which is here will be like, voila, the research that I do. And then we can say, well, let's try to apply this way of doing things in this sector to see how we can improve this sector. So is it,
and do you think there's a political?
It is.
Do you think there's a political will?
Political, yes, because the moment some do not see actually the direct effect on the people, they tend to be a bit like, well, maybe it's not very useful as it is, which is not the case.
And do you think like there's a political will in Africa to develop Africa, not just in the field of science, but in just develop Africa generally, trying to look for solutions for the problems that we have? Do you think there is a political will as of now? And you can be specific. You can talk about Togo.
Maybe the issue is being now raised now. Is because when you look in Africa in general, the matter is being raised now, and I am sure in the next few years, this become really a center of things because on how we can manage ourselves, this kind of thing, and how we can do it. I mean, but right now, the interest in this kind of thing from political, from politicians, whatever, is very limited. It's very limited. But
why
now,
do you think so?
I think so. I mean, I think probably because the thing of they have other priorities concerning my country. They will tell you we have other priorities that we are focusing on than which is a bit strange. Priorities, yes, but everything is a priority. So yes.
So do you think it's incompetence? Do you think it's incompetence or people who don't want to listen? Because I think one of the biggest issues that we face, I would speak of Kenya, for instance, my country, is that there was a time we had a minister of youth who doesn't have even a university degree, the person who had a court case about corruption. And all along, even the minister of trade now is someone who has never been to business school, for instance. And you can see the incompetence in these people. It just screams at your face. These people who have not done much in their life, and and if experts come and try to explain to them different way of doing things, they want to shine. And we have a president like that also in Uganda. I don't know what he studied, but he's an expert in everything. He's an expert in social affairs. He's expert in military. He's expert in medicine. He's a lawyer. Someone just who sits at the top of the hill and just points, you do that, you do that, you do that, and he doesn't listen what others are saying. And this person has like ultimate power.
Exactly. This is precisely the old mentality. And this is what I was trying to refer. It's now changing. So the more the new people are coming to power, it's likely that they will have different perspective and different way of seeing things than just to think like, okay, I am the chief here, and I will decide irrespective to which competence I have or which knowledge I have in this or the other field. You are talking about this. Yeah, I think this is very pathological to Africa in general. You know, people are nominated not because of their competence, but just because, you know, just for pure political
connections.
Connection. That is it. So in that sense, we still have a lot to do. You know, a lot to do if we really want to advance. We really have a lot to do. I mean, to promote really the excellence in terms of, voila, this one is being nominated here because he has shown a track record and he's able to, he can someone who can do it. And he's left with free hand really to do it, not to put someone there who will be just like a clown, like, you know, he's just there to be manipulated. No, you cannot do anything. You are there. You can't do anything by yourself. So yeah. So yeah, I think this
it's really frustrating. Really, it's really frustrating, especially when things which are so simple. I was watching the news, Togolese news this morning, because I knew we were going to have this conversation. I wanted just to keep in touch with what is happening. And there is now a process of biometric registration of biometric identification that the government is pushing. And I don't know, what do you have any opinions on that? Have you heard of it? Are you for it or?
Okay, I mean regarding my country,
yeah, your country. It's happening now in Togo.
It's really, we are really in the process of digitalizing most of the services, and it's actually going well. I mean, it's not really it's not really bringing an extra burden to the population on whether the costs are being raised or extra miles to do other things. No, I mean, it's going smoothly, but still, you know, it will take long to implement all this efficiently and correctly. As far as my country is concerned, there are a lot of effort. At least there is a kind of motivation and also the kind of will to do it, and they are trying to do it. It's not perfect, but I think it's just the process also.
At least, yeah. And I just wanted to know if it's an honest effort, because in Kenya we had like 3 years ago, we had a government forcing people to have new IDs, and that process was being forced down the throat of Kenyans by foreign firm, which is called Idemia. It's the same firm that's doing hospital cards here in France.
Yes.
And the project, after like almost 90% of population have been registered, millions of money spent on it, and information, fingerprints, everything, every digital information concerning a Kenyan had been collected with that company. I don't know where the servers are because the government is not owning the servers. And the court process.
So it's like a private company which has the mandate to do this.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a private. Of course, private companies can do it. But at least this private company.
But when you are trying to collect this sensible information about the general population, I think the government should have an eye on how this thing is done. I mean,
the government should have an eye, and me really, I prefer private companies than our governments. You see how incompetent these people can be. I think every government office I've gone, you're really amazing. And private sector, because they are motivated by their reputation, by money. And if these private sectors are really responsible, and they, even if they are multinationals, but at least they have a legal representation in the country, they have an office in the country, and the government should impose a minimum physical security on these servers. The government can say, okay, we will have like our person like 24/7 here, and these servers should be within the country.
Yes.
Imagine what if like let's say a multinational from Nigeria collects information from Togo, and then they stock it in Nigeria. And one day, there's a war or it's a political tussle between the two countries. What will you do then? And they can just cut off the services. They can do anything they want because personal information.
They can send the information.
They know addresses of people, where they live, their work.
Yeah.
And I thought that's something that I think some African countries might go really fast on. But I saw Togo, they are on a really digitization process. In Kenya, it was even more than that. It went way more than that because they wanted to group everything in one card. You are not even supposed to do anything. And now they are saying they don't need cards anymore. They are scanning retinas, and maybe they are kind of going too fast on technologies that maybe they've been rejected in Western world. And they want to test these technologies on some people. So we play the role of guinea pigs. And I think And I think that one really is not good, and that's why I asked you that.
It's not good. Yeah. At least in mine, I think because also if you put it in the context of geopolitical context, the authorities are very careful in really addressing these issues. On in terms of security is really something foremost important for them. So they try their best to not give this kind of freedom or whatever for some private or even public to just have free hands and full hands also to manage this kind of sensible information and data, which is
but Togo really is a country with really clear track record. It's quite a small country, but we don't hear people talking about it every day because it's kind of calm. Its relationship with France is pretty good, and it's Togo part of French money. I don't know what they call franc CFA.
Franc CFA, yes. I mean, franc CFA is all the French-speaking countries in West Africa, CFA. But because you have the two, you have CFA and CEMAC, which is like Central Africa. So in West Africa, we have only one currency, which is a CFA, which is like a fixed exchange rate respect to euro. So you can only exchange it to euro. So you cannot exchange CFA to dollar directly, so you have to go through euro, and then you can.
Which is a euro, isn't it?
Yes.
CFA is a euro.
The rate is something fixed. I mean, the rate is fixed. It doesn't change, and you never change also. So I mean, ideally is like to ensure the stability, but at the same time, it's really not good for business. So this is so in the last
stability for who? Who to ensure whose stability?
For us, and imagine if the currency collapses at some point, it will be bad. I mean, so maintaining this fixed parity with euro ensures like, well, at least there is something that is so
what if euro collapses?
But in the recent years, that the issue was really in the media, and it is still working on it. So to really change this CFA with something else, but of course, this is really not an easy thing to do.
It's not a small task because
not only small task, but it is not just economical. It's political. It's whatever you can put in it. So it's much more complex than to just simply say we are changing our currency. So it's very complex, very, very complex, because CEPA is being made here in France here. So it's complex.
It means that the country is not really, really independent, because if it is made in France, how it will work? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. France prints the money.
Yes.
And then, of course, you can take the money if you want to do development. But this money is given in form of a loan. Let's say it's given in form of a loan. But for you to pay, you are not going to use the same CFA that you printed to pay.
Exactly.
You change this money to euro, because you need euro to sell stuff. So how will you get the euro? You give us natural resources.
Exactly. So it's a very organized, but this is really back from the independence. This currency is a colonial currency, which has been there. I mean,
what's your opinion? Do you think we should get rid of that? Because I've talked to people.
I think a country that does not have control over its currency cannot develop. I mean, I think this is something. I mean, that's to be clear. If someone is in charge of,
at least we can agree on that.
It means the person controls how you should develop, how to do things, and how things will go. So there is no way any country can develop if the currency is controlled by somebody else. So at some point it has to be changed. It has to be in one way or the other. In whether the terms, I don't care on how it has to change, whether radical, smooth, whatever. But at least it has to change at some point. You take countries,
I know that
single countries which have their own currencies, which are much more stronger than CEPA. How can you explain it?
I don't know, because Kenya has her own currency since the year 1960. So 63. Of course, our currency as an exchange, it fluctuates with the euro.
Much stronger than CEPA.
But on the other side, when euro loses against the dollar, the Kenyan shilling gains against the euro. So it doesn't just go only one direction. Of course, we need to really be careful about what we do in our economies. We balance the availability of our monetary value. But in the end, you can decide to do what you want to do. Now, I was just saying the list of countries strong economically in Africa, and Nigeria is the strongest country. It has our own currency.
Yes. You don't go far. You crossed next to us, Ghana. It has its own currency. It's way, way, way better than.
And then South Africa. Kenya.
Yeah.
Kenya.
So you look
and then you have
leading
Egypt and Ethiopia.
Yeah. All of them have their own currencies.
So, and most of them are English speaking.
Yes. Okay. Is it
because
coincidence or is it something? Okay, this is something I have my opinion on it. I have my opinion on it. Maybe we can discuss about it in the next session. But so definitely there is something intrinsic with maybe French-speaking countries and how we develop. Maybe there is something intrinsic about that. That is, our development is probably connected to the fact that we have been kind of colonized by French people. Okay.
But of course, there are problems all over Africa. There are problems all over Africa.
This needs factual thing to support this. You know, you cannot say something just out of nowhere. I mean, you know. So that's why
it's not.
We could discuss about it much later, much if you want. Yeah. But yes, I think
I would love to. I would love to really, because it's intriguing. As you know, we have particular interest on African diaspora, especially in Europe, and the people we meet really brilliant people who have like opinions that could change their country overnight.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, why are not really doing what they are doing in Europe back at home? It's the question I asked you. Now I know from the discussions that we had earlier that you have particular interest in politics. What's motivating you? What's motivating you to?
You know, when you live in in an environment where you see everybody is suffering, you live in a place where everybody all the time is complaining. There's nowhere you meet someone who actually, really feel enthusiastic of belonging to a country. It means there's kind of loss of hope. At some point, it has to change in one way. It has to change. And I think you need someone with strong conviction and passion, really, to really, take this matter in hands and really solve it. You cannot be complacent on things and think that it will work, or still playing all the games of the politics. No, you just have to do it. And I have an example of some minister, back during the terms of Uhuru, a minister who actually, I don't know if whatever he did or not, but his approach of things actually was very nice to me. Matiangi, you know.
You're like, this guy is famous internationally.
Yes, no, because
you know Dr. Fred Matiangi.
Yes, you need to shake things irrespective of what's happening, because you have to change it. And I think this approach is very important. So things, because people are used to some ways of doing things that they don't think there's other way of doing it which is better. Yeah. So
really, you say that
this is an interest that is back when I was kid. So it's not something that was just so it's really something since I was kid. So it's really something I really want to do. It's the only thing I want to do. Through my career and whatever, I have done whatever I can to take this leading position wherever I passed. I think,
but really coming this far for thing, I think the position that you are in now, that's a position that's harder to get to than to be a president, really, because you really have to toil, you have to sweat. How did it work for you, like from leaving high school to becoming a doctor in particle physics?
Well, okay, high school, I usually
maybe it was easy for you, but
yes, okay, sometimes I say, okay, when growing up, personally, if I was really to choose to do, I would have just like political science or law, something, because I really wanted to be, to do politics. That's really what I really wanted to do. So I want to do something that is, and later to do administration, and really to be really in the center of how the administrative, whatever works in the administration. So, but as a kid, when I started growing up, so I was very good in science. So naturally, I was just like following. It was just like natural going, I just go.
So someone had prepared the way for you already.
Yeah. So without really questioning. So okay, you are good. Okay, the teachers, whatever you have. Okay, you go this way because you are very good at that, and then you continue. You continue until I arrive at the university. Well, okay, still what to do? Okay, I said I would do medicine. I would do, but I said okay, maybe let me do mathematics. So I 2 years in mathematics. In my third year of bachelor, I went to physics. So I mean, like I went from mathematics to physics, and I had my bachelor, and then so it's really something like I would say at the beginning it wasn't really like with conviction I arrived in physics. It's after my bachelor, then the interest was really kind of awakening in me really to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought whenever you are, the most important is to do well what you do. So I think I have this philosophy. If you want to do something, you have to do it well. That is it. So
wherever you find yourself, do it well.
Do it well.
If you are
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, now, like back a little bit to your I don't know, interest in politics or political ambition. I don't know. Would you tell us where you come from in Togo? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you know a bit of Togo, Togo, in Togo we have
from the map, of course.
Yes. Okay. Maybe I should have. If I had, I could have drawn. But anyway, just.
No, I can see. You tell me. I'll find the place.
So I was born in Kara, which is the second city in the northern part. Not extreme north, like not extreme septentrional, but in Kara.
Sorry, I was lost.
Yes.
I was in Benin. Sorry. Okay, Kara. Yeah, I see Kara. Quite a big city. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second city.
Kara.
So that's where I was born actually, and I did my studied high school. I completed my high school there, and then I did university in Lomé, of course.
In Kara.
Yes. So that's where I was born. So I did my primary school and secondary school there. The university in Lomé, up to maîtrise. It's 4 years after high school. So before applying to Italy for master.
Okay. So you did your master's in Italy?
In Italy, yes. In Trieste.
Okay.
Yes. So, and then after 3 years, I did my PhD in Spain, in Madrid.
Okay.
So I've been kind of traveling.
Quite a journey. And then you finished here in France.
Yes.
So quite interesting. If today, I don't know, I know this is a subject that we are going to invoke. I promise you we are going to invoke this in the future. Like, if you are to get involved in politics, what's the type of the politics that you will bring to your country? Is it social development politics, or is it extreme right, Africa for Africa? And kick out everyone.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I am a bit a mixture of all, but I don't like too much extremes, because extremes means you may ignore things that may be on the other side that may be good.
Yeah, sure.
So I really, extremes, no. So yeah, Africa to Africa, the concept sounds good, but I think we are really now in a context, global context, to just frame it, yes. But fundamentally, that will be the ideal. But we are in a really global context that we need. I mean, we cannot isolate Africa from the rest of the world.
We can't, and I think it's the only way forward. So.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I think one important thing I want to is really fighting corruption, irrespective to my ideology. I think that's the source of things. So the first thing is really to control what things are being done. I think this is a really source of our problem, the corruption.
Do you realize that that's where you make yourself? Do you realize that's how you make yourself a lot of enemies?
Yeah, and this is very interesting actually to me, because I mean, the moment whatever you say are really rich people or really shake people in where they were comfortable, it means you are really doing something. Yeah. So I think, I mean, maybe I could be in the center. I don't know, somewhere, Anyway, in Africa, we really don't talk about center, left, right.
Yeah.
I mean, this concept is more Occidental, Western, the concept of left, right.
Yeah, we come from the same basket. Even from our home, I don't know whether my president is socialist or I don't know.
You need a bit of social, because when you see people how it is, we are really social, naturally really social in terms of people are really, it's very difficult. You need social thing to really try to lift people who are really in extreme poverty. Yes. At the same time, you need also to not completely ignore this big whatever, the right side people. I mean, they have their place also in this process. Because if you want country to develop, you need also to have this big stuff that actually brings not only employment, but also the money, the infrastructure, and all these things that you need also for the development. So you need really to put it. That's why we need a new ideology for Africa. It's important because people we just want to take what is done somewhere. The realities are not the same. When you want to, you cannot transport whatever is done somewhere just mechanically. The things are the realities are completely different. So you need to do things respect to what locally or what is happening there. So I want to go like just left, which means I am social and that is it, or I am right. Money does no, but both.
And sometimes I really understand you, because sometimes you see people, because they are left, they cannot support anything that's coming from the right,
exactly.
Even if it's good. So I've seen that in France also. You say really doesn't make sense because the other person.
The main problem in Western countries now, because when you are from the right to the, which comes from the right, and which on the other side you cannot, which is to me is also extreme. For me, what I want to do for Togo is we want to really know what Togo is and what opportunities Togo offers to Togolese. And every Togolese to know that when you go to this place in Togo, this thing, you can do this thing, develop this thing that can make the country better and the population better. So the first thing really, we really want to learn ourselves, to learn really about ourselves, what we need, what do we really need in this process to really get ahead. And to support this progression, the corruption to me is really the first thing. Corruption and education, those are the first thing that I will really try to dismantle completely.
Sure. All luck. We wish you all the luck. I think we in Africa, we've lost a lot of opportunities in the past. And I think now is one more chance I think we've been given to salvage ourselves from poverty, perennial poverty, people dying. Everywhere you go, if someone is collecting money to help someone who is sick, someone who can't go to school, you see African faces. And I think that kind of ashames the kind of work that you do. You are really, what I think our viewers will take time to understand is that what you are doing really, you are at the highest realm of science. It's a very specialized thing that whatever comes from your research can have direct impact on how we do things. And the role that you are playing, even I know you work in various universities, also mentoring young scientists. These are the things that contribute a lot to the world, and it should at some point be appreciated. And where I come from, we say the story is told always by the winner. If you are in a fight and you lose, who is going to tell the story how it started?
Even beyond that, actually, this is historical facts from from before Greece to now. The history has always been written by the winners. So, I mean, this is the case. The winner cannot write the story that is disfavoring him. I mean, anyway, it doesn't make sense. Also, So,
also we know that equality and fairness don't really exist. You claim what is yours. I don't know. It's just maybe I'm a bit extreme on that one. But in Kiswahili, we say mnyonge hana lake. Mnyonge hana lake. The person who is weak has no say. If you are weak, you're the one who is crying, oh, we need justice, we need what? If you've never seen a millionaire like yelling for justice, they don't need justice. They're good.
That's true.
You've never seen our president like, we need justice, we need what? So I think I'm lucky to have met you because you kind of interweaved everything. I've never had such a talk show full of insight. We kind of starting from very complex science to life itself, and then progressing to politics, and you kind of feel that like everything is interwoven, and we exist in a fabric where we need each other, IT experts, scientists, and everyone has something to say. This is the resilience of African diaspora in Europe that nobody talks about. If we were not here to tell our own stories, no one will tell our stories. And that's the point. That's the point. There are people up to now who have written books about how Hellions build the pyramids because they don't want to attribute that to Africans.
Yes.
And I know I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that you accepted to come to talk to us. I know time is precious to you, and I'm really looking forward for the next conversation that we are going to plan after this. And I'm going to leave you 1 minute to just to sign off, to tell us your last words.
Yeah, so thank you, because at the beginning I didn't have actually the opportunity actually to express my what I feel about the opportunity you are giving actually to have this this talk. Few things actually I didn't. So I mean, so what is the purpose? I mean, I just want. Is it a podcast? Is it just because I didn't get the full details of? Yeah. And besides,
I did not want to scare you.
Besides, I see that we are three, or at least three. But the other one, he never spoke, so I don't know who is the third.
No, it's just to record and just technical person to make sure that everything is okay.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good. Yeah. So thank you so much, and I think there is a very there is a potential in what we can do together in future, and I hope this will be just the beginning of an enriching and interesting collaboration. So I hope everything will be fine, and that we will take this shows or whatever to the highest level.
Yeah, sure. Like our viewers will attest that when I say really, I'm privileged to have met incredible people. I think they can see what I'm talking about. And Afrocentric, really, we are trying to tell our own story so that someone else cannot twist them and tell them the wrong way for us. And for you, the viewer, to be sure that you don't miss the next episode, of course, that will be full of insights as the one we just heard. I invite you to follow us on our podcast or wherever you get your sorry, not podcast. There is no application called podcast. Follow us in Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. And with that, thank you so much, Donald. And I want you, before you leave, to teach me how to pronounce your name. Pacha.
My surname Pacha. Yeah. Pacha.
Pacha.
Yeah.
Pacha.
Pacha.
Okay. What's K for if we are not pronouncing it?
In 2 syllables. Pacha.
Pacha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And thank you for your time. And until next time, I'm signing off.
Yeah. Thank you.